I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Ashley Creeger.
And I'm Buffy the Cheeseburger Slayer.
Not the Cheeseburger Slayer. Are you hungry?
A little bit. Whatever.
I always wanted to be Buffy growing up. I
that is
loved
very,
her.
yeah, that tracks for you.
Yeah.
1,000%.
But not the Cheeseburger Slayer, the Vampire Slayer. But
I'm Buffy the Cheeseburger Slayer. So like double cheeseburgers, triples.
all of them.
All of them. Singles even. It's cool.
Now you're making me hungry.
I know, right?
So we have our Parajunkie president on board today for the podcast. For those of you just listening who are wondering where Chris is still alive. He is still around, but he had an appointment today. So Ashley is going to be here with us.
Woo, woo.
And we actually wanted to bring Ashley on to the podcast because we wanted to announce that she has joined our team officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, Ashley, do you want to describe kind of like what you're going to be doing with the podcast?
So basically just like Parajunkie engagement.
Yeah, Ashley's going to be handling, making sure Parajunkies are getting messages through to us, and if they have ideas that they can reach out to her. Just making sure everything's moving and grooving in the right way, making sure you guys get the best experience out of Patreon as possible. So it's going to be really great to have her on board. And now that, especially because she's here in Savannah officially.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So super exciting. But yes, we have a really good episode for y'all today. We are going to be talking about the Black Monk, the Black Monk of Pontefract.
Woo!
Yes. What I read about this is that it is referred to as one of the scariest possession cases that nobody knows about.
I can't wait.
So,
I love a demonic possession.
oh, I know. Yeah. And we're going to be doing this in a little bit of a classic way of a From One to Wicked.
Yes.
And yeah, JT, as you're
Oh,
saying.
I was just going to say, on October 9th, our brand new podcast show, From One to Wicked. It is a true crime podcast with a little bit of paranormal every once in a while, just peppered in there. We are going to be dropping that on October 9th. The first episode, Leilani Simon is going to be who we're covering. That is the first day of her trial. So she did a very abhorrent, she might have done a very abhorrent thing here in Savannah. And so definitely catch us doing that because we're going to record it right next to where she is having a trial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and JT's brother is going to be attending the trial, so hopefully we'll get the insights.
Yeah, he's trying to get a seat. He's trying to get a seat.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're hoping that he'll be able to kind of give us the inside scoop of how it is out there on the ground, if you will. But yeah, and the way we're going to be doing that is this is just going to be a spinoff podcast to create what we like to call Haunted City Studios. So obviously we're going to still have this podcast. This is going to be our main bread and butter, but because JT and I love true crime, we felt like it'd be fun to, do a secondary podcast that we can talk about all these true crime events that are happening and also have happened in the past. And we are going to rank them from 1 to wicked based off of 5 categories. And that will culminate to create our final score.
Exactly. And it's going to be interactive. I am currently figuring out how to create polls for the live stream. So Parajunkies are able to vote live.
Yeah.
So we can come up with a final score from everybody listening.
Yeah.
It'd be really dope.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it.
I'm super excited.
Oh, yeah.
I probably like true crime more than even the paranormal. I watched 2020 to go to sleep, and I have not heard about this case at all, but I have decided to not like look at anything about it until the episode.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It
I
actually
want to be surprised.
it
Absolutely.
happened not too far off from where you're living, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About I would say, a couple miles. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it sure
comforting.
did.
Yeah.
It sure did. All righty. So let's jump into this this haunting.
All right.
Poltergeist.
So the Black Monk of Pontefract.
Wait, hold on. Is it a poltergeist or demonic possession?
So-
or both?
Okay, here's the tea, y'all. I know we have fans who listen from England. I don't know why y'all out in Britain love calling things poltergeist, even though I personally wouldn't consider this a poltergeist. It starts out like, you'll understand, it starts out like a poltergeist, but my personal opinion, I feel like it's something different. But nonetheless, I just find that the UK in general call any kind of crazy malevolent entity a poltergeist.
Yeah. Probably a colloquialism there.
Maybe.
We have English listeners. Comment and let us know if that is that's the case.
Yeah, and that goes for anybody in the UK, not just England. I've noticed that for all of y'all. So if you have a reasoning or for why you think that tends to be a thing, let us know. But anyways, so the Black Monk of Pontefract is considered one of the most violent and terrifying poltergeist cases in British history. This haunting took place at 30 East Drive, a modest, semi-detached house in a small town in West Yorkshire, England. And so let's start out with the setting. Pontefract is a small historical market town known for its rich history, which includes a Norman castle and ties to English royalty. However, it also has a darker, lesser-known past involving crime, punishment, and monastic history.
Okay.
So,
okay. And monastic is like monastery?
Yes.
Got it.
So 30 East Drive is a home that was built in the 1950s in Chesterfield Estate. It appears completely ordinary from the outside, but it became the focal point of one of the most infamous hauntings in modern history.
Ooh.
So the haunting began in August of 1966. 1 month, and my dad was 1 month old when this happened, which
Wow.
is crazy. I'll have to tell him that he was on this earth when this was happening.
She'll be listening to this and is like, thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, now you know his age. So the haunting began in August of 1966 when the Pritchard family, consisting of Joe and Jean Pritchard and their 2 children, Philip, who was 15, and Diane, who was 12, moved into the house at 30 East Drive. The first recorded activity happened while Philip was staying at home while his grandmother, Sarah Scholes, with his grandmother, Sarah Scholes, while the rest of the family was away on holiday. So some of the incidents that happened while he was with his grandmother alone in the house, there was a mysterious white powder that appeared. They called it powder snowfall.
Ooh. Okay.
It was falling from nowhere and covered parts of the house.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's kind of like that reminded me immediately of Unsolved Mysteries, the rain that happened
that's
in
like
the house.
jellyfish or whatever?
No,
the
not that
jellyfish
one.
goo?
Well, so that, but there's an old one. I think it's from like I don't know, 80s or 90s or whatever, when it was like the original show, and there was rain. There was a case of a man. I haven't seen him forever, in his living room, and it started raining in his living room.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Did he make his own little ecosystem? Because you can do that in jars. You can make your own little ecosystem where the water creates a cycle and you can see little rain in your jar.
No, he got the hell out of there.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't. I would think that there must be some kind of
own
water or something. But anywho. But yeah. So there was the powder snowfall. So despite several attempts to find the source, they never figured out why it was happening, and the powder just persisted.
Dang.
There was also water pools. So water would appear in small puddles across the house, most notably in the kitchen. This occurred despite there being no plumbing issues or visible leaks.
Okay. So I mean, the first thing I would think is condensation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, but they brought in officials, like
Okay.
professionals, and they were like, "There's no leaks in here."
Is that what they sound like?
No.
No, they did?
No, but that's what I sound like.
I ain't no leeching here now, y'all. No.
So they also had situations where objects were moving. So Sarah and Philip began witnessing objects like teacups and lights switching on and off by themselves. And then it gets a little crazier where green foam was appearing from taps and toilets even after the water was turned off. The tea dispenser began getting activated, resulting in all the dried tea cascading onto the work surface that they had.
Very English problem to happen.
Yes.
I was about to say the same thing.
Exactly. There were plants leaping out of their pots.
What?
Yeah.
Okay,
Were they
what?
mandrakes?
Oh my God.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Plants leaping out of their
That's
pots?
what it looked like, supposedly, was like
Yo.
they like got yoinked out of their pots.
What?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. There's so much happening all at one time. For the actual From One to Wicked show, we're gonna have whiteboards, like personal whiteboards, to write down, just so we can remind ourselves when we're voting at the end and coming up with the number. And so I'm gonna go ahead and they came in just now. Not just now. They just came in through the door, but they came in like
Those whiteboards just walked right
today.
on in.
And so I'm gonna go get the whiteboards so we can write some of it down. So I'll be right back, but I'm still listening.
Okay. Yeah. So the plants that were leaping out of their pots would land on the stairs specifically. And also there were cupboards that would shake violently, which to me, in my personal opinion, all sounds like kind of a classic Poltergeist, just like rambunctious ghost energy, you know? But these were just kind of the early signs. And even though they were unsettling, they were relatively mild in the grand scheme of things. So, however, though, once the rest of the family returned, the activity began to escalate dramatically. And I'll wait for JT to return to his seat before we get into the craziness. Okay, and so in order to humanize the spirit, the family nicknamed the entity Fred. And although Fred pretty much only stayed the family's nickname for it, because once the press kind of got to be aware that there was a haunting, I guess this town didn't get a lot of hauntings. So once the press became aware of it, they created a story and they referred to the poltergeist as Mr. Nobody, which is kind of rude in my opinion.
I know.
It's
what the
like,
heck?
I'm like, clearly he's somebody, you know, if you're talking about him, like that's kind of rude.
So we're calling him Fred, huh?
Yeah, so that's Fred. What are you writing down? Fred. Plants.
Definitely the plants. I've never heard of that. Do I think that's wicked? Not necessarily. Do I think it's cool? Hell yeah.
Fair enough.
Plants jumping.
Okay. Jumping plants.
I'm also going to write down water.
Mandrakes.
I'm also going to write down water because that's interesting. It might have a relationship with water.
Yeah, green
water.
foam.
And green foam. All right.
And also the cupboards were shaking violently.
Okay. Yep.
The cupboards
right.
were violent.
Violent shaking. Shaking of furniture.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
So moving on to kind of the escalation of the case.
Okay.
So over time, the Pritchard family experienced more aggressive and terrifying manifestations, if you will. Some of the key incidents of the activity included furniture levitation.
Oh boy, here we go.
So chairs and other pieces of furniture were lifted off the ground and moved across rooms, which still happens to this very day.
Mm-hmm. Wait, to this very day?
To this very day, this still happens.
What?
And sometimes thrown with great force.
Good.
The family saw a grandfather clock thrown down the staircase, a solid oak sideboard get thrown. Now this one is also crazy, but bees would come out of the cupboards.
Ooh.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we have plants, waters, and bees. Interesting. Okay. I feel like
Not the bees.
I feel like we're gonna be like solving unsolved mysteries.
Right.
Are they
doing
sure
this.
that the violent shaking in the cupboards wasn't caused from the bees?
I did not.
Vibration of the beast?
I did not hear that theory, but honestly, very possible. But yeah, like the solid oak sideboard. Like, let's just think about how heavy that must have been, because I'm sure, because this was in the 60s, everything was made out of really nice wood. So everything was made out of really nice wood. So that would have been super heavy to just be knocked down out of nowhere. So I think that's compelling to me.
I wrote strong.
Very good observation, JT.
Strong.
Yeah. Strong. Anyways.
Strong.
And so people in the family would get locked into rooms by seemingly nobody, because nobody would claim to have locked someone in a room.
Interesting.
Family photographs would be found torn and slashed with what looked like a knife without any apparent cause. Their house would become filled with loud banging noises, thuds, and knocks that seemed to have no physical source. And there were also lots of temperature drops inside of the house. So the family reported severe drops in temperature in specific areas of the house, often accompanied by the feeling of being watched.
Okay. So I have an idea as to why I think there are plants, bees, water, temperature drops. I think whatever this entity is trying to say, I can control all elements. And I would be I know nothing about this, so I'm taking a guess. I'm guessing there's going to be fire somewhere.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Anyways, so now the Black Monk appears. Woo! So the most terrifying element of the haunting came when the family began to see the shadowy figure of a monk dressed in black robes.
Oh boy.
The figure, which became known as the Black Monk, would appear and disappear without warning.
Okay.
The entity was particularly focused on the Pritchard's daughter, Diane, and she was often attacked by being thrown from her bed, having her hair pulled, and in one infamous incident, she was dragged up the stairs by unseen forces, leaving her with bruises and marks around her neck.
Dang. So extreme hatred towards family.
Well, I mean,
Definitely.
there were slashes in the family photos.
That's why I wrote that, but now I'm hearing this. So, and then hatred towards, or violence towards the child.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just remember, Diane was 12 when this was happened, because that might draw a correlation to some backstory.
Yeah.
But the sheer violence of the haunting set it apart from other paranormal cases. The Black Monk's aggression and targeting of Diane added to the belief that this was more than just a residual haunting. It was definitely a malevolent entity.
Oh, yeah.
So who or what was the Black Monk? So there are a lot of theories about the identity of the Black Monk, but most prominent, the theory ties to the haunting is a 16th century monk who was hanged for crimes possibly involving the rape and murder of a young girl. It is believed that the monk's body was thrown into a well on the site where 30 East Drive was later built.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
So this legend suggests that the Black Monk's violent spirit is what now haunts the home. So the Black Monk
still haunts the home.
Still haunts the home.
Wow.
So it is shrouded in mystery and a lot of local legend, particularly, but when it comes to the crimes specifically that he committed, because this was supposedly happening in the 16th century, and as y'all know from any bit of history we've talked about on this podcast, the earlier on it was in history, the least amount of actual documentation we can find. So the story suggests that the monk lived in the 16th century and was connected to a local monastery, though exact historical records tying him to a specific location or event are unclear. The crimes he is said to have committed involve violent acts against a young girl, which ultimately led to his execution.
Okay.
The primary crime attributed to the Black Monk is the rape and murder of a young girl. According to the legend, the monk either lured or forcibly took the girl from a nearby village or estate. And again, the exact circumstances of how or why the crime took place are murky, but the story insists that he brutally attacked her. The girl is often described as being quite young, possibly in her teens, which would fit the MO of wanting to attack the 12-year-old girl. Which makes the crime particularly heinous in the context of both the time and modern understanding. Now, the crime was said to have taken place near or around the site where 30 East Drive now stands, though during the monk's time, the area was much less developed and the land was likely used for other purposes such as gallows or punishment area, since that tended to be what that particular village was used for.
Yeah, I think it's a great I think it's a great idea that, like, great connection, I should say, that the Black Monk is this poltergeist, because that would make a lot of sense.
So,
just listening to all of it.
As a result of the violent crime, the monk was reportedly caught and sentenced to death by hanging. Now, in many versions of this story, the execution took place at a gallows that was located near the present-day house.
Okay.
This adds to that idea that the spirit remained tied to the area after death, which filled it with rage and malevolence. Some versions of the story suggest that the monk was not only punished for the rape and murder, but that he had committed other atrocities, though the details of that are additionally vague. Now, his execution would have been public, which was a common practice during the time, designed to serve as a deterrent to others. And it was also important to note that monks during the medieval and early modern periods were not immune to corruption or immoral acts.
Of course not.
Although they were supposed to lead pious lives, there are documented cases of monks being involved in criminal activities such as theft, abuse of power, and even sexual crimes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're anywhere you have a bunch of humans, you're going to have that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But people think that if you devote yourself to a certain religion, like in that level, that you must be holy in some capacity. It's a nice thought, but
no. I think Maskell was.
That's what I was about to bring up.
Maskell? Yeah, I want to call him Father Man. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Have you seen The Keepers?
No.
Yeah. Don't. God.
Yeah, it's disturbing, but
vile.
It is a very interesting true crime case. But yes, so some believe that the Black Monk is not these are the alternative theories, by the way. That is not a historical figure, but rather a poltergeist, which is a type of entity that is drawn to energy of people, particularly in times of stress or emotional turmoil. And Diane's age and her experiences with the entity lend credibility to that theory. Personally, I'm on the side of the monk that supposedly liked to harm young girls, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's where I am too. Because also, think about that. That could be a demon either possessing the monk, like from birth. Like, we don't know. We don't know if it was if he acted like that because he was a true psychopath or if he was possessed. Yeah.
So
this could be just continuing the work.
So that is another theory. People think that it could just be a demonic entity, because people think that the Black Monk is not a human spirit at all, but that demonic presence, given its level of violence, its terrifying appearance, and its fixation on tormenting the family. That is credible, in my opinion. That is very possible. But it's just, to me, I'm like, if there were already stories about some monk like that, to me at least, I feel like that just drew a natural connection. Yeah. I'm still on the side of the real life monk that was just a trash human being and trash in the afterlife too. But that is still a very powerful entity if that a spirit that was a human at one point is able to cause that level of disarray and damage to a person's life. But yeah, there were attempts to stop the haunting.
Okay.
So the Pritchards were deeply religious and sought various ways to rid their home of the entity. However, none of these efforts were successful. Several priests attempted to perform exorcisms at 30 East Drive,
Okay.
Despite their best efforts, the Black Monk only seemed to become angrier with the poltergeist, which caused the poltergeist activity to intensify after each attempt.
Interesting. That makes me think that it might not be demonic, because if you think about it, it's like if you're trying to use antibiotics for a virus, you could potentially just make the matter worse.
Interesting.
So if it's a poltergeist, not demon, then that would just piss it off.
So its responses were it would push those who were involved down the stairs. And people would have their faces slapped. Witnesses
Slap like open hand.
I mean,
Like,
I guess so.
It's not punched.
It's not punched.
So they're getting like whoosh.
Yeah, they're getting smacked up. And also, witnesses of these exorcisms would report that holy water would seep from the walls.
Whoa.
So after these particular
saying I could touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
interesting.
People would also witness a pair of ghostly hands appearing to mock them.
Ooh. Ooh.
So
interesting. Okay.
So yeah, nobody got rid of it. It's still there to this very day.
There.
And you can go visit this place, which is super fun. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love the UK. So
I
this
do
is
too.
Great news. Maybe we should.
So paranormal investigators from all over the UK have come to 30 East Drive to document the activity. And many of them have experienced strange phenomena firsthand. So objects moving, loud knocks, and even brief glimpses of the Black Monk.
Okay.
And I do implore y'all to go and check out their website, which I believe is just the address, 30 East Drive. Yes, it is. So 30 East Drive. Whoever is managing this property, I love, because they are actively writing down experiences of people who come and investigate.
That's dope.
Even if they're just like minor incidents or whatever, like people have said that they've seen furniture in Diane's room move across the room. There are also people who have seen these entities, and we'll get into some of the photos here in a second. But
Okay.
But yes, so despite all the efforts, the Black Monk still continues to terrorize the property in general. So the Pritchard family eventually moved out of 30 East Drive, but the haunting did not stop there. Even after the house became vacant, paranormal investigators and visitors reported experiencing strange and terrifying events in the home. So people also are regularly attacked by this entity still to this very day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Mm-hmm. That's a powerful entity, and we might be keeping whatever it is, alive by our interests in visiting.
Absolutely. But yeah, the house is now kind of a paranormal tourist destination and a popular spot for people who are into the paranormal. Several prominent paranormal investigation teams, including Most Haunted and Ghost Adventures, have conducted investigations at 30 East Drive. I'm sure Zach Bagans had a field day with this one.
Field day.
But each documenting unexplained phenomena. And so, just like I wrote down exactly what JT just said, these modern day experiences have kept the legend of the Black Monk alive.
Zach Bagans probably like, smack me. Smack me up. Open hand. I know you like doing that.
Oh, yeah. But the case has actually inspired quite a bit of pop culture, which is really interesting because it's not as commonly known. But the Black Monk case actually has inspired books, documentaries, and films. So the case has been explored in several books, but most notably a book that is called The World's Most Violent Poltergeist by Colin Wilson, which details the paranormal activity at 30 East Drive. And if we do go there, I will be reading this book for my deep dive. But in 2012, the haunting was dramatized in the horror film When the Lights Went Out, which portrayed the Pritchard family's experiences with the Black Monk. Though the film does take some creative liberties, the film brought the story to a wider audience and solidified the Black Monk's place in horror folklore.
Okay. Did it by any chance inspire The Nun?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
But I see what you're going for
it's
there.
It's a similar vibe, although she's not as violent, I guess. The Nun's just kind of lurking.
Yeah, that is
in
true.
The movies.
So, to kind of, tie all of it together, some of the theories on why 30 East Drive is haunted. So there are several possible explanations for the haunting and why it's so intense. A lot of paranormal experts believe that the Black Monk's haunting is connected to ancient crimes or deaths that occurred near the site, like we talked about earlier. Some people believe that one portion of the story where there's a well on the property which supposedly holds the monk's remains, and that's why it's attached to the house, and also why it's pissed off still, even though there's been no evidence to show that they found any human remains, which I feel like...
Why would they put him in the well?
Right?
Like, that's where they get their water from, isn't it?
I mean, I guess the medieval times, they weren't very sanitary, but, but yes, I would agree with that.
I think they would still know they shouldn't drink human remains, though.
One would hope, yeah. I personally, I think that it more than likely had something to do with the gallows being close by.
Yeah.
That would be my
That sounds about right.
bet.
Also, you said the body was dumped near there?
So that was where the well portion came in. So they think that they just threw the body into the well and just
No, the little girls.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So another theory.
That might be why he might be territorial.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because he's not attached to the family; he's attached to the house.
Yeah,
I wrote that down. Attached to property.
So another theory focuses on the concept of poltergeist energy, which is oftentimes attracted to young people going through puberty, particularly girls. And so the idea that Diane Pritchard may have acted as a catalyst for the haunting, with the monk using her energy to manifest and cause the chaos and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, totally possible, but this feels more malevolent than that. It wouldn't still be acting up like this if it was that, in my opinion.
What if he's trying to keep and this gets real deep. What if he's trying to keep the spirit of the little girl kind of muffled, and maybe another little girl being there could have been an attachment, and she might have been trying to get in contact with the little girl to say, hey, I'm here, I need help, and couldn't.
I mean, it is possible.
All right, what are you pulling up the photos?
Yes.
Cool.
So let me see because another thing I like about this website that they have going on is they have photos from the property of people who have gone to investigate the property, and at the very top of their page for the photos it says page rules. Only images that can be guaranteed to not have been tampered with will be uploaded to this page.
Wow.
If you have any images worth considering in relation to number 30, or indeed have comments and observations about anything here, do please get in contact.
You're right. I do like these people.
Yeah, that's my type of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so this
Same.
first one that I want to show y'all is this, which I think is very compelling.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just so basically what we're seeing is an entity standing at the top of some stairs. We're looking down the stairs, and Debria will insert all these photos for those watching on the YouTubes. But yeah, there's like a dark human figure up at the top
Shadow
of these.
Man.
Yeah, Shadow Man. That's what it looks like.
He looks pretty tall too.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
do you want me to read you the caption real quick?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the caption they wrote for it says, "Blacker than the blackest shadow." This jaw-dropping image is the most graphic black shadow image captured to date.
Graphic.
Taken in broad daylight with a Canon 5D on a tripod fired remotely.
I love they name the camera.
Yeah.
The 5D Mark what?
It just says Canon 5D.
Okay.
On a tripod fired remotely, it appears to show something with human form stood assuredly on the stairs looking up toward the camera. Is this the Black Monk himself? Is this the entity that has been known to shove people down the stairs? The photographer, they just named him as Craig L. And the editor's note says why the above image is genuine. As this page asserts at the top, we take every caution necessary to ensure the validity of images that appear on this page. And whilst we might be talking about a mere blob here, if you look closely, there is something about the form, angle of the head, the physical size and distribution of the shadow, the weight in relation to the stairs, the disappearing feet, the improbable blackness. The editor and image specialist by trade would, for example, have made a more ghost-like shadow and the perspective that makes us confident that this is the real deal. Strange though it may seem, it would take a very skilled artist to create a blob with the above subtle characteristics, a real artist. For the sake of comparison, we have here a faked shadow, and I can find that later, but you will see that whilst it may at first appear that the shadow is indeed an entity of some sort, when compared to the original on the right, it lacks all of the human-like subtleties that the genuine article possesses. But rather than leave it to chance, we have returned to the photographer and have retrieved the camera setting at the time.
I was just about to ask, what's shutter speed? What's all that?
It helps establish some basics such as no flash, low light, longish exposure, supporting the need for the tripod, as mentioned by the group, and
Interesting.
And is a camera that can be fired remotely from another room. And additional anecdotal information, example, the temperature dropped shortly before this picture was taken. As to the circumstances that led to the capture of this incredible image, its legitimacy is further confirmed by other similar forms captured on the stairs by other visitors.
Okay.
So,
did they give the camera settings?
They basically said that there was no flash, it was low light, and they were using longish exposure, which is why it was on a tripod.
Shutter speed was low.
Yeah.
Got it. And that's for people who aren't camera people, that's for motion blur purposes. It has to be on a tripod because your shutter is kind of like your eyelid. And so when your eyelid opens and you're trying to capture an image, anything that moves is going to be a blur. So that is why it was on a tripod.
Taken on those same stairs by a different person is this photo.
Okay.
Totally different group taken that took this photo.
It's the same stairs, but
same
at the bottom?
stairs. Yes.
Okay.
And he titled this, or whoever runs the property titled it, "He's at the bottom of the stairs watching you." Two images taken in quick sequence clearly showing an anomaly in the right image. Carol, the neighbor and medium, will occasionally point out to visitors that he, the Black Monk, is stood at the bottom of the stairs watching. Plus, a blue ball of light has been spotted a couple times in the front door window on the left by passersby. So, just interesting.
More transparent, but you said it was 6 quick images?
No, two images taken in quick sequence.
Okay, gotcha.
So this was taken right before, and this is taken right after.
Understood.
So
I wonder if they had that on a tripod and what the shutter speed was.
They did not mention for this one.
Okay.
But this photographer was Andy E. And if y'all want to go look at all of these yourselves, you're more than welcome to see them. They're all on their website.
This actually gave me some ideas for the next ghost hunt. I might set up our Canon EOS R and set that up for long exposure. Same thing with the A7S III, and see if long exposure might capture a thicker entity.
The next one I want to show y'all, I thought was interesting because of the hand situation. Look at this one.
Okay.
So the caption for this is titled "Reading Man." Notice the form of what appears to be a man sat reading behind the French doors to the kitchen. There was definitely no one in that part of the house at the time, and definitely no casual reading of any material at any time that day. The chair sat in that corner behind the door is pictured bottom right. So this is what that chair that area typically looks like.
Interesting.
But this is in the kitchen area.
Okay.
And they were saying that nobody was supposed to be in there.
Yeah. And so what we're seeing is through the curtains, you can see the shape of like a long hand with a long thumb, and it's like pressed up against the glass. And there's a dude, and he's just chilling there in his blue shirt, and he's like pondering life, it looks like. And little does he know, he's got a demonic pedophile monk over his shoulder.
And this was taken by Andy E. as well. So the person that took the photo from before took this as well. So
interesting. Okay.
And then the next one I want to show y'all is one I think is super creepy.
Ooh, what the? Ooh,
Whoa.
good. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Right? So,
my Lord.
It's like Slender Man.
literally.
Yeah, so what we're seeing is a basically an open door, and it looks as if there's this thin black sliver figure of a person standing there, profiled.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
And the caption for this is "The Black Monk?" ? This figure was taken from inside Philip's room, so the brother.
Black Monk on Ozempic because he thin.
Well, listen, but yeah, so from inside Philip's bedroom of the landing, a random photograph not noticed until the photographer checked his camera later, validated as being genuine by Father Gary Thomas, the priest portrayed in the film The Rite.
Okay.
And a top American demonologist.
Ooh.
Is it the Black Monk himself or a demonic entity of some other description? This was also taken by Andy E.
Okay, Andy. What?
Yeah,
What's it? So Andy just has that charm?
I guess so.
Dang.
Well, and so I think that aids the conversation that I always tell people. When I would take guests into historic homes that are haunted, but they'd be like, I never catch a ghost in my photos and stuff. And I'm like, a lot of times it has to do with the person holding the camera.
Exactly.
Some people are just more naturally able to capture something. And so it seems like Andy E's got that gift.
Yeah. Or when Andy E went there might have been something or someone that entered the house that triggered more activity.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, was there a young girl in the house
Yeah.
at the same time he was taking these
Ooh,
photos?
That's
Interesting.
what I was wondering.
But-
Andy, if you're listening, you're probably not. Let us know.
Yeah. But there's a bunch of other photos too. So y'all go check those out. These are just my top 4.
No, those are great top 4. Great top 4, hon.
But yeah, so what do y'all think?
I think, okay, so my number one question is, what happened to Diane again? Do we know?
Yeah, the family left.
The family left.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
The family
Took 'em
left,
way too
stayed
long
with
to
the, and it stayed with the house. So Diane did not die.
no,
in it.
Diane
Okay.
did not die.
All right.
She was choked, right?
Yep, she was.
on her neck.
Yep, she was choked and she was dragged up the stairs. She was thrown out of her bed a lot. Her hair was pulled often. Like, all these occurrences happened to her frequently.
Interesting. All right. First thing, I think, not a demon. I think that the reason why the violence that the poltergeist is inflicting is not deadly, but just violent, is I think that, like a poltergeist, it has to accrue the energy that it needs to perform a single act. And I think that I think that the violent acts it was doing may have been attempts to kill, but just not
Successful.
Not successful. Because it just can't accrue enough energy, to fire a gun, for instance, or something like that.
Let me just show you one more photo because that just
Okay.
reminded me.
All right.
There's a photo down at the bottom that looks like somebody holding a gun, like a shadow figure holding a gun.
Interesting.
Look at this.
Ooh, like a rifle.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, that does look like that. That's weird.
And the caption was, we know that 30 East Drive and much of the area, due to its high vantage point over Pontefract Castle was built on a Civil War battle site. Pontefract Castle being a royalist stronghold before Cromwell had it destroyed. So does that in some way explain this sharp outline of what appears to be a Civil War soldier holding an axe pick? That's what they called it.
An axe pick. Okay.
But I think it looks like a gun, in my opinion.
Yeah, like a musket.
Maybe that's just our American eyes, but
That's probably our American eyes.
But still, interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there was no fire.
No fire.
Okay, so there's no fire. I still think that we're dealing with a single entity. I think that entity was trying to say, I can control elements. I can control weather. I can, and I think that entity was most likely a narcissist. And what are pedo monks? They're most likely narcissists. So I think that would make. I think that old Fred is actually the Black Monk. I think that it most likely still haunts it for sure. Most likely for sure. But and then I'm looking. I think that the extreme hatred towards the family, violence towards the child, warrants a very, very solid 8.75 for me.
I agree. I actually really agree with that. I was going to give it an 8.5, but honestly, I like your thinking. 8.75 feels good to me. So I don't fully rule out the possibility that it could be a demonic entity solely because of the bees.
Okay.
Not the bees. Debria, you can insert that.
Oh, no, not the bees!
Yeah, well, because typically, so demonic entities a lot of times get the correlation with flies, but that is actually one particular entity a lot of times. Demon, if you will. There's a few underlings that also have that fly association, but there are a few demons that do have associations with bees as well.
Okay.
So I don't rule it out. The bee thing could have just been infestation of some sort. So I don't use that as my full credence of like, this is definitely a demon solely because of that. It's definitely a very, very strong malevolent entity, especially for it to have lasted this long.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was triggered by there being that young girl around the same age as the victim, because that just makes the most sense to me personally. If there is this lore around this malevolent monk that harmed this girl, like there's just too many correlations for me to not feel like that's the most solid theory out of all of them.
I'll say if and when, because I feel like we definitely need to take a trip. If and when we go to this place, I'm not going to try to contact or connect with the Black Monk. I'm going to see if the little girl's there.
Interesting.
Because I'm sure anyone who walks in there is like, Black Monk, show yourself. And it's like, on the energy, just like, slurp it up. And so I think that's what's keeping it alive. I think that little girl's still there, and that's why he's territorial, which makes that a really solid 8.75, if not 9. Borderline, a cusp of 9.
That is interesting. I will say there was a quote, a piece of evidence on their website, because there's a million of them. Honestly, just y'all go ahead after you listen to this, go read through some of the experiences, because they even put pretty like normal, mild ones as well. But somebody did a spirit box session, and it came through saying like they were like asking who are we talking to, and it said monk.
Oh boy.
So I will say it is open to communication. So to me, so super creepy. And honestly, this is one of the more compelling photos, in my opinion, of it, because I feel like this is what that family was actually seeing, you know?
Yeah.
Which is disturbing.
Super disturbing.
I don't like how it looks like it's like scurrying past the doors.
Right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of like
tiptoe.
that one scene in Signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The alien. Yeah. No, it does. You're right. Ashley.
Yeah.
So, actually, what's your rating?
I would say a 9.
A 9.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think it's a demon, but it's definitely, I think, like the spirit of a very evil person.
Okay. So you're saying 9 on the poltergeist, Maddie? You're on the side of like it could be a demon, it could be poltergeist, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think Ashley and I were thinking the same thing. Like it's for sure poltergeist, but I heard on the bees though. That's
the only factor that is making me question. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's because so bees are super relevant to the earth. Obviously, we are bees are mega important, and because they're pollinators, and so it makes me wonder if I'm correct about him trying to show control. Maybe he's trying to say like, I'm in control of everything, even the very animals that create new things. But that can also sting you.
I would say if it was like wasps or hornets, then definitely demon. But
Yeah. Totally.
these I don't find too like scary.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I heard on that. Well, cool. All right. Well, so you said there's a movie about it?
Yes.
And all right. Nice.
We can watch the movie about it and see what we think.
I think I'm gonna hit them up.
Yeah.
On the website, on their website, and maybe if they have like somebody who works there that wants to be on the podcast,
that would be super cool.
Come and tell their
See
story.
If you can find Andy.
Yeah.
Right? Honestly, Andy E, if
Andy
you're
E.
listening. But
Andy.
yeah, there's just it's a really cool thing that they've got going on. New owner. Who's the new owner?
Oh, they got new ownership recently?
So it's actually the film producer who created When the Lights Went Out, which is the film about it, bought the property.
Really?
So they must really love this story.
They must really love this story. I mean, I think that when someone's that obsessed with a story, I think that they saw something that they are like, there's absolutely no way that any of this is fake.
And it looks like they filmed the film in the house.
What?
That's cool.
No,
because
they
there's
didn't.
stories about
We're
the
watching
actors
this, like ASAP.
Yeah,
What?
there's stories about the actors having encounters, and the producer said, I witnessed something indisputable with my own flippin' eyes. And
Flippin'.
And there's a documentary on the house too.
Wow.
So
Flippin' is rated G?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, super cool. Sorry, I'm just reading through this, but it's
that's crazy.
But yeah, so
Okay.
sounds good to me.
That was great. That was great. When you brought it up to me yesterday, that we should do that one, because we were trying to decide on a couple different ones, and she's like, this one I've been doing some research on. This is interesting, and it's kind of an enthralling story, especially because it actually might be the most violent poltergeist.
I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Edinburgh poltergeist? I can't remember its name right
Bloody
now.
McKenzie.
Bloody McKenzie got a higher score though.
Well,
I
yeah,
will
because
say
Bloody
that.
McKenzie will straight up beat you in the streets. So it's like,
Bloody McKenzie will straight up beat you in the Edinburgh street
and set your building on fire. So
that's like I think that's like might be the first one to Wicked we've ever done. So y'all check that out. You can go back years at this point.
yeah, but
yeah, cool.
so
All right.
what would our official score be if 8.75 and 9?
I would say, I'm not a mathematician, but I would say probably around 8.80, 8.85.
Sounds great. We're gonna go with that. So
We have the new calculator app on the iPad, so it'll solve it for us.
sure. But yeah, let us know down below, y'all, wherever you're listening to this, or if you're on YouTube, let us know what you personally would rate this haunting. And if you live in the UK and you have been to this place, let us know if you had any cool encounters with this entity or with this house. But I would personally really like to go to it. It's kind of high on my list now,
we're gonna be creating a list of these entities and their scores. Not just entities, obviously, but also from One to Wicked, the true crime offenders, I guess you could say. We're gonna be creating a list, so y'all comment your scores down below on YouTube or Spotify. You can comment now on Spotify. Go ahead and do that, and we'll add that into our score. So right now it's 8.80, but what do y'all think?
So, all right, y'all. Well, thank you for listening to today's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. If you don't already follow us on social media, you can find us under Haunted City Podcast on all platforms. You can check out our website, hauntedcitypodcast.com. If you were looking to get some nice merch, there is Yassified Plague Doctor shirts out there. Shout out to Elle for that fantastic design. Go get your Yassified Plague Doctor merch. And
Wait to get mine.
oh, I'm so excited. I love my shirt. I was very excited with this design. But
It's Bella Canvas.
yeah,
Good
nice
quality.
and swaffed. But yeah, so with that though, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And stay spooky, y'all.